Hello, 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 and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it, as always. You know, I tell you every time, if you want to drop me a 5-star review, I'm okay with that. Or if you want to share, I'm okay with that as well. Okay, today we have another client interview. Another brave soul has stepped forward. You guys, this is a big deal. For those of you listening and don't think this is a big deal, this is a big deal. We are talking about money, and people don't always love to share that. And so this is exciting that we have clients that want to share and help answer some of the questions you guys have. So today we have Jim Moffit, and he is out of Indiana. He just let me know he just paid his third premium, so he's not brand new, but he is a newer client. So we are going to hear from Jim, who is not a farmer. Jim is a independent financial. Jim, I just gave you a new title. He's an independent crop consultant. And so he has been so nice to volunteer to say, hey, you know what? We don't have just all farmers as clients. As a business owner, I would love to share what we are doing as well. So welcome, Jim.
Hello. You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. All right. So y'all, I just have to tell you, Jim is like our funniest client ever. And so if we don't get emails from Jim on a semi-regular basis, we're like, hey, have you heard from Jim? Because he's not just sending like a regular email of what he's doing, but there's always some kind of funny analogy behind it. We love our Jim emails and text messages and pictures. And so keep them coming, Jim. Okay, so for those of you that are not watching the podcast, I want to start out with the fact that when Jim and I met, he was 63 years old. And you are 65. You'll be 65, or you are
turned 65,
you are 65
a couple months ago. July. Yes.
Okay. So what is your advice to all of those people that say, I'm too old, Mary Jo, this isn't going to work for me?
Well, I mean, I looked at the numbers that Mary Jo developed, and I see value to it. I mean, I wish I had started earlier, but even at this point, there's definitely value to it. And, and the features of the policy, allow for loans and tax-free income in retirement. And anyway, there's a lot of things that still provide value, regardless of your age.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you have a business to run. So you still needed the capital to run the business. Yeah. So tell us how you've used your policy.
Well, I have my business set up on a fiscal year that ends September 30th. And I'm a crop consultant, so a lot of my income comes in October, after growers harvest. So anyway, what I like about the policy is I can defer income, from July, August, September into October, and the cash value in the policy allows me I can borrow against the policy, if I need cash flow to get me to the end of September. And anyway, so I mean, that's, that so I can defer taxes or, plan, do some tax planning that way. So
Because, so Jim is, here's one of the reasons that Jim is very exciting to me as well, is because he is an independent crop consultant. He's doing soil testing. He is not selling fertilizer and chemicals and those sort of things. And so your income is coming strictly from the consulting work, and you don't make anybody pay until they've harvested?
Well, no,
or is that just when they pay?
I bill my clients annually or semi-annually, and the way, and it's based on what month I signed them up. So I mean, I have some, throughout the year. We call it their anniversary date. So I'll either bill them full amount, or if they want to pay half, in the spring and half, after harvest, that's fine. So But so anyway, I bill them once or twice a year based
Mm-hmm.
on when we started together.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to just talk about your business for a second because I remember the first time that we visited, I was so excited to talk to somebody that wasn't selling fertilizer or chemical, that was actually doing soil testing. And so, what is the difference between an independent guy like you? What is the benefit, I should say, between an independent guy like you and somebody, I know it's kind of a loaded question, right? And somebody that I am working for a company that sells fertilizer and chemical.
Well, I mean, I'm a certified crop advisor also, which is a certification you can receive. So I guess the difference between typically CCAs can be independent, or many of them will work for your fertilizer retailer. And I started in this business 42 years ago, and I got anyway, I got connected with Brookside Laboratories in Ohio, which started in 1951 by a farmer. And they, some of your listeners will be familiar with Dr. Albrecht. Anyway, so they follow kind of the Albrecht philosophy of balancing the soil. So number one, we have a little bit different approach to balancing the soil than the university and the typical in the retail industry does, and so anyway, by doing that,
What is that? What is that difference? I would like to
um,
know.
well, we want to we want to provide all the nutrients that the soil needs, but at some point, okay, the soil's full. I mean, there's no economic or agronomic reason to put on additional phosphorus or potash or whatever. And one of the principles, Dr. Albrecht did a lot of work with calcium. So we feel that there's a proper balance of calcium and magnesium in the soil, and that's kind of controversial. I mean, the universities say, well, you just look at your pH and go with that. Well, I'm in northern Indiana. We have a lot of glacial soils that we have a good pH. I mean, I've limed soils that were 7 or 7.2 pH. And a farmer asked a few questions, but anyway, we have high magnesium levels, which that holds your pH up, but it also masks that you're low on calcium. So anyway, calcium is good for soil biology and your nodules on your soybeans and alfalfa, and improves drainage and soil structure. And anyway, so I mean, there's a lot of, and like I say, that laboratory's been in business for 70 years. We've got 200 consultants around the world, following us, and seems to be working. So
That's awesome. So you are not. We went right before we went on. I asked you how business has been because I hear this all the time in the farming industry that commodity prices are low. I can't afford, Jim. I'm just going to have to put on, whatever I budgeted, or maybe the bank won't give me the money for fertilizer or chemical and I need it. And so you said that that's when they need you the most. And I would totally agree with you on that. But because of, and you can just verify this, right? If you're going to put chemical and fertilizer are expensive. Chemical has doubled. You just said that
fertilizer.
before we got on. And I have,
Well,
or fertilizer,
chemicals
sorry,
up
fertilizer
and
has doubled.
scarce.
Oh,
There'll be a
really?
shortage
I did
of
not know it was
herbicides
scarce.
next year. I think there was some shortage this year.
Well, why wouldn't there be? There's a shortage of everything else. But we tend to not see it ever come back down, right? Like this time it might. But if I remember correctly, the last time it went up, it didn't really ever come back
the
down.
fertilizer it'll go up and down. I mean, partly supply and demand, and there's a pretty strong sense that when grain prices go up, that's a good excuse to raise the fertilizer prices. So anyway, they do cycle, but they kind of lag. I mean, we may be back down to $4 corn, and the grain price would probably drop faster than the fertilizer price. does.
Okay, so we were then talking about, well, we need a crop consultant when prices are low, because of the fact that we don't have the extra money with low commodity prices to be putting on extra expenses in general. But you just said that when they go up, obviously everything else goes up. So for me, it just doesn't, it's not rocket science. That why wouldn't we use a crop consultant every year? Because even if crop prices go, or if commodity prices go up, why are we not still using a crop consultant and making sure we're not putting too much on so we have a bigger profit margin?
Yes, I mean, as I told you, I have clients I've had 20, 30, and 40 years straight. They paid me every single year for that length of time, so good times and bad times. And when commodity prices are low, a person like myself, I can tell you, okay, we need to do this. This we can get by, for a year or two without getting, in trouble. So someone that has the knowledge and understanding can help you, do what you need to do, but survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think I just look at it as Jim is a part of doing business. He's a business expense and it should be built in. Much like I feel like life insurance is a business expense and it should be built in. Because we need that for the estate planning. We need that for everything else. So it should be there. But we have to make it part of the expense. If we don't, then what? Then we can say, oh, it's easy to skip it.
Well, you don't drop
okay,
your fire insurance on your house, do you?
Exactly, because of the what if. But people have to, or people feel like they need to prioritize. I talked to somebody this week that said, the first thing to go was our life insurance. We couldn't afford $30 a month when we were young and we were broke, and that was the first thing to go. But we don't stop getting our hair done. We don't stop getting our, whatever. We don't stop going out to eat. A lot of times we're going to drop what is a necessity because we're going to die. There's no question about that. But we're going to drop our life insurance before we drop other things. I just think as a farmer, and the soil is super, super important. Even our stuff that we just bought, I want to have that tested. Because I said, well, where are we going to, even if we put not cover crops, but if we put food plots in and we do those sort of things, why are we wasting money if we're putting the wrong stuff in the ground and we're planting the wrong stuff? That just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not doing this just for funsies because I have nothing else to do. I want to make sure that it grows. I don't want to go out there and be like, oh, look, it's dead. There's nothing for the deer to eat. There's nothing for the cows to graze. And so it to me, it just makes sense. But I think farmers sometimes need that reality check that it is a necessity.
The soil's your factory.
I like it. Okay, tell us your first loan that you took. How did that go?
About a year ago in August, I did take a loan out for cash flow purposes, and no problem. I think, Jess set it up for me, and I believe I had direct deposit into my bank account. I'm going to say within 2 days, and I'm sure that would work anywhere in the country. I happen to live 120 miles from the home office, but maybe direct deposit, that that's not going through the mail, so that doesn't matter. And I have to comment that for 2 years plus that I've worked with Mary Jo and her team. They set everything up. They explain every step of how to do it, send examples. And Jess has always offered to, I've sent in I've paid the premium, but then I'll send in paid up additions during the course of the year as I get cash flow. So Jess has always got that set up, and she always offers to, I will check and make sure that got deposited correctly. And it anyway always hasn't been a problem. But anyway, the support and walking you through the steps has been tremendous.
Yeah, because you have the option to, obviously you've not gone online and done everything yourself.
No, I mean, I was, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so you do have the option to go online and do everything yourself. But when that happens, and it's a little bit cumbersome, and it's just, that's what we're here for. That's what we got paid commission for, is to make sure that we take care of you. But it's funny because there are people that will go online and do it themselves, and then they will call and say, well, I didn't get my check. Well, they didn't sign something, they didn't sign in the right spot, or they didn't fill something out right, or whatever. Well, we don't get notified then because we're not tracking it. Like you said, that's why Jess is always tracking stuff, or Carrie is always tracking stuff, is because we want to make sure that it got processed correctly. And so, you have options, but if you want to use us, that's just for anybody listening, even existing clients that aren't using us, use us. Carrie does most of the loans now. Carrie can go in, she can do the loan, she can email it to you. You sign it now all online and it gets sent to you. 2 days is actually like super fast. I've gone 3, but I had to set up an ACH already. If you had that already set up, a lot of times it is 2 to 3 days that you have your money.
Well,
so
I almost think
quick.
it was the next day. But, anyway, so let's just say 2 days, or anyway, very promptly. No problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, wouldn't that be funny if your bank was the same bank as theirs? That's maybe why,
no.
Since you're so close to them, you may be using a similar bank or something where they're just transferring it from. They didn't have to actually transfer it. They just moved it from one account to the next. Yeah. So what else are you planning to use it for?
Well, as I mentioned, I think business cash flow. And anyway, I've just even in 2 years of adding paid up additions, I've got a fair amount of money. So I think soon I will be able to, I can buy a new truck with it, or, an ATV or some equipment I need. And I've been thinking, lately, kind of realized, well, it's recommended to have an emergency fund. So that can be an emergency fund that is, earning interest, compared to leaving it in my bank. So I think, that's a good value there.
Is your business, Jim,
Yes.
your business an LLC? Yeah. So you could then lend the money to the LLC to purchase your side by side.
And that's what I did for the cash flow.
Yeah.
Also, I think. So I can take the loan it to the business, and then pay my salary and expenses. Yep. So, right. Yes. And the policy is in my individual name. It's not in the business name. Right. And I think, another thing that I have learned or come across, and I think you talked about it briefly on a podcast, is you can do dual compounding. You can take a loan and, buy, I hate to say, stocks or real estate, or buy some asset that will also produce income or dividends or something. So you're continuing to earn interest on your paid up additions, on your cash value, and you can also earn interest on another investment. You need to use some caution and judgment with that, but that is a possibility. And then also, down the road, I see that there's tax-free income during retirement can be as part of the policy from the cash value.
Yep, and the whole point of the policy is not to just put money there and then think, oh, we're going to be rich and be able to retire. We need to, the whole point of what Nelson told us is money needs to flow, right? Just like blood flows, money needs to flow. And so the money should go in the policy, and then we should be borrowing it to buy real estate, to use it for business, to do whatever it is that's going to create some cash flow. Using it as a savings account is not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. But we can't, the policy in itself is not the only thing that's going to create this massive retirement income for us. So if your business is going to pay you back plus interest, did you write that interest off as an expense?
I haven't. Do you remember? Yet. I need to improve my honest banker skill. Well, I mean, so right now, I mean, I have that loan still mostly outstanding, but I've taken the view that I have used that money, in investing in something that, so so anyway, so right now my focus, this year is I want to pay the paid up additions for this year, but I do need to work on. I do need to be an honest banker and pay myself back on that.
And it's when you pay yourself back, then the interest that, or even if you don't pay yourself back, the interest that the insurance company is charging you can be a write-off because it was used as a business expense. And so if you need us to run an amortization schedule for you so that you know what that interest is, we can do that. Because then it's easier to be an honest banker. Right, because we'll do it for you, and then you don't have to. Then you don't have to do it. So just let us know. How long did you have that loan, and then we can just kind of figure out that interest for you. It's a little bit difficult because the insurance company charges interest daily, and they charge it for your period of time, like your policy year is what I'm trying to get to. So if your policy starts in October, they're going to charge you interest from October to October. So if you take a loan in July, they're only charging you interest from July to October, and then that loan starts over in October. And so it's a little bit, their interest is a little bit cumbersome. And so we actually have a program that we can use to help you figure that out if you need us to. So tell us, how did you hear about the infinite banking concept?
Well, actually, so I found you on Facebook in 2019, but prior to that, somewhere along the line, I heard about Nelson's book, and I got it from the library and read it, and then, so I'm going to say that was 2010, 12, 13, something. I mean, quite a while ago.
Oh, wow.
But, I read it, made sense, but I guess I didn't know how to implement it or who to implement it with. And then in February 2014, a financial newsletter I subscribed to, they did an entire write-up on infinite banking, and they didn't call it that. And they initially, they were like really skeptical of this, so they dug into it and say, hey, this is legit, and they'd get no money off of it, but they recommended, this is a sound, practice. They highly recommended it and charged quite a bit of money to get all the details on it. So that was 2014, and again, anyway, made sense. Didn't take action, I guess. And one thing, at that time, I had kids, going to college and debts and concerns. And anyway, I think, if I had met you at that time, I think that you could have, walked me through and showed me a way to how to get started. So at 2019, I found you on Facebook, and I bought a copy of Nelson's book. I bought your Farming Without the Bank, and also Wealth Without the Bank and Wall Street. And I'm kind of a slow learner because I was reading through the Farming Without the Bank, and I don't know if it was halfway through that one or halfway through the other one. I'm thinking, well, you know what? Farming's a business. I'm a business. This could really, this could work for a business. So anyway, so we got together and got going with it. And anyway, I'm excited for, what it's doing and what it will do for me down the road. There's longevity in my family, so I'm going to be paying premiums for a long time.
That's awesome. And here's the takeaway from what you just said that I think is super important is that you didn't do anything until someone could relate it to your personal life and your business and what was going on. If you would have talked to somebody in 2014, it would have been a very different story, right? Because they could have said, hey, you probably don't want to pay for the kids' college with cash. You may want to do X, Y, and Z and figure out how it can work for you. So many people are like you that sit on it. I have another client that very similar story. He read the book back in like 2012 or something like that. And he just never found anybody he could trust that could sell him what Nelson was talking about, that could teach him the infinite banking concept. And so he just hung out and waited that long until he could find somebody. And so I think that is important, that people understand. If you don't, just because you read the book, if you can't figure out how it's going to be implemented in your life, you need to have that conversation with me. Because I can then say, hey, you can use it for X, Y, and Z. Instead of, oh, no, I can't figure it out. Well, you're not supposed to be able to figure it out. It took Nelson 49, he had 49 policies, and it took him, 50 plus years before he started when he was 50. So it took him 30 years to really get that message across to everybody. I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and I still need to be kindly reminded how I can use my policies. And so we get in a tunnel and we can't see outside of that because that's our tunnel. And we're like, that doesn't work. I don't have any extra cash. Even though I'm sending the kids to college,
right. And I want to compliment you for doing these podcasts because I've learned a lot from them. And, and some of the, the fine points and the details and, hey, you can do this or this, this works. And there's no way you could possibly sit down with everybody and walk through all that. So, the podcasts are fabulous. And I know, I'm amazed at the time commitment that you put together to have one every week. I was a little nervous. I've been on my best behavior today because that October 8th podcast, I'm kind of glad I'm 1,000 miles away, and I got my fire extinguisher here, and in case there's any smoke coming through the phone line. But anyway, so.
Oh, Jim, this is why we love you. I'm surprised I didn't get an email from you about that one. Yes, you better be on your best behavior, and don't tell me you can't do something.
Yes, ma'am.
If you guys have not listened to my what was it?
8th.
September?
A week ago.
8th?
Well,
October 8th. Okay, so if you haven't listened to that podcast, you may want to go do that so you know what Jim is talking about. But you can turn the volume down on you can probably turn the volume down on your computer or your phone because I got a little riled. I know, I was like, I should probably redo that podcast, but no, I'm still just as mad today as I was the day I recorded it. Oh, that's funny. But that is not something you have to worry about. You didn't even need to bring your extinguisher because, see, you were 63 when I met you, and you could have been like, "Oh, this doesn't work, Mary Jo." But that's not your attitude.
Not at all.
So you're safe. You're totally safe.
And another thing, I don't know. Anyway, over the course of your podcast, you once in a while you'll mention that people are complaining or skeptical that you're making a commission. And I don't know what your commission is. I don't care. I look at the numbers, and one, you're providing education, but you're providing tremendous value. Also, you deserve a commission. Nothing. Everything you buy has some kind of commission or markup in it. So, that does not concern me in the least. I'm getting tremendous value, and you talk about buying $1 for X number of cents. So, and just the functionality of the policy, loans and earning interest and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we get in this mindset too, right? That we can't pay somebody commission because well, you're making too much money. Well, I'm servicing you. Like, we don't just go, oh, Jim, thanks for the email, and that's good that you want to take a loan, but you just go figure that out on your own. Like, no, that's not part of it. Part of it is talking to us as much as you want, making sure that we are servicing that for you, making sure that we are providing the value. And the biggest thing for me, I'll just add to your podcast tip, the biggest thing for me for the podcast was to make sure that this podcast helped educate my existing clients, because I can't get to all of you, or you frankly just don't call me. I mean, most clients just don't call me. And so if you don't set up the time for one-on-ones, this is just easier because you're all out driving around, and it doesn't matter if you're a business owner or if you're a farmer, you're in your vehicle for some period of time. And so turn the podcast on and and it's continuing education. You don't just say, oh, I'm going to start a business and never continually educate myself on that business. Infinite banking is your business. You are now in the business of banking, and you are the banker. So you need to know how to run your business. So thank you for the compliments. I appreciate them, and I will take them.
Well, totally true. And that's how I see it. And I think that's correct. Oh.
Yeah, nobody works for free either. And the other thing is finding the right person. You had an opportunity that you could have just went to your local agent or a friend of yours and said, hey, this is the policy that I want. In fact, I looked at one today. Somebody emailed me. I've never talked to them. They emailed me and said, hey, I've got this policy illustration. How does that look? I'm like, well, it's completely wrong. Like, it's whole life, but it's not an infinite banking policy. And the company that you have it with can't do infinite banking. And so you took the time to say, you know what, this looks good, but I need to find the right person that can teach me infinite banking.
Yes, well, and actually that financial newsletter, I mean, they recommended an agency. So, I mean, that was, following that concept. So, but other than, if I hadn't taken that news, I mean, I would have no idea where to go. Right. And, so there's not many practitioners.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to add that people should know?
Well, no, like I say, I've been with you a little over 2 years. I've paid 3 premiums so far, and things are going as you described, and I've taken a loans no problem. I paid up additions, through the course of the year, several different installments, or not installments, but several payments, and no problem with that.
So you're paying the minimum. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you're paying the minimum, and then you're adding the extra as you have it throughout the year. And
each time, anyway, I'll make a couple payments, and then for the final payment, I always check with your office, and they contact the company and say, okay, you can put in this much more, without going into mech territory. Mm-hmm. So so I can get right down, pay up to the last dollar without, so I want to get as much as I can in, but I don't want to go over. So they come up with that number for me.
Yeah. Have you shared this with your family?
A little bit, but it's so a situation where anyway they don't want to read the book, or so
they don't want to read. Okay, because the kids, right? Have you shared it with the kids? I guess is who I was asking about.
Not in depth. Yeah, I need to.
Okay. Yeah. I was just questioning it because they're going to get death benefit, right? And so to be able to set your wife and kids up to know that, okay, when dad passes, what do we do with this money? And it's not always an easy conversation to have, especially your kids. I can't tell you how many people say, Mary Jo, will you talk to my kids because they won't listen to me? Right. And I'm like, well, then will you talk to mine because she won't listen to me either?
All right, I think we can work something out here.
Yeah. So it is definite. Because how old are your kids?
35, 31, 26. So, but I mean, they need to implement this in their own lives, let alone, my policy.
Yeah. Maybe a little Christmas gift this year. That's going to go over well. Thanks for the reading, Dad.
Well, yeah, I mean, people have to have an open mind to, read the information and reach a conclusion. But you have to read the information first.
Right, and you have to hear about it. And you heard about it 3 times before you did anything. I mean, I was your third person to talk about. I was the third person to come across you to talk about it. So we can't expect people to just want to know about it right away.
I'm a slow learner, Mary Jo.
That is not what I was implying, but So there are people that take, I have clients that come back 2 years later, 3 years later. Some people are slower to take action than others. That doesn't mean they're slow learners, Jim. It means they're cautious.
Well, so yeah, I mean, again, in my case, I mean, it kind of took 3 exposures to really sink in. So, but I think, your books are very, especially your latest book is very concise. And so anyway, I mean, it lays it out and so that's kind of your first step. And then I think, you offer an hour and a half interview. So I mean, then read the book, talk to Mary Jo, and she can kind of fill in the fine points and, what is more applicable to your situation. So anyway, just feed your mind.
Yep. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for being here and taking the time and sharing with everybody. That is very awesome.
My pleasure, Mary Jo.
All right, you guys, that is all I have for today. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you know where to go, Mary Jo at Without the Bank. I am happy to answer those. If you have not gotten the books, Farming Without the Bank, Life Without the Bank, or Becoming Your Own Banker, why? What you waiting for? 63 like Jim? Get them now. Go to farmingwithoutthebank.com or go to withoutthebank.com. Grab your book and then let me know if you have any questions. Thank y'all, and we'll talk to you next week.